Good evening, everyone. I have 7 o'clock and a quorum of voting commissioners, so I will open up the Mashpee Conservation Commission meeting for Thursday, January 23rd, 2025. Tonight we are meeting in the Wacoya Meeting Room, Mashpee Town Hall, 16 Great Neck Road North. This is being broadcast live on local cable channel 8 and 1072, and also streamed live on the Town of Mashpee website. Before we do begin, if you would like to join me in a pledge of allegiance to the flag, please do. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to start with a moment of silence. You might want to remember the victims of the wildfires in California. Thank you. I'll start with public comment. If there's anyone here tonight that came to address the commission on a subject that is not on tonight's agenda, this would be the time. So if there's anyone that would like to speak with us, nobody here in the audience, nobody online that we know of?
Not that I know of.
So we're good on that? Perfect. Let's jump right into the first RDA. I'm going to call the first hearing for tonight, 42 Sandy Way, Charles E. and Michelle C. Torge. This is a proposed septic system upgrade. Representative is GeoCape Environmental Consultants. This hearing is being continued from December 12th and January 9th. And we also have a third request for a continuance to February 6th of 2025.
Make a motion to continue this hearing to February 6th.
Thank you, Steve. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Rich. Motion made and seconded. Any questions, discussions by commissioners before I take a vote on this continuance? Hearing none? Steve?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well, so that will be rolled over to the 6th. The second RDA for tonight is 105 Waterway, Dominic J. Venuto and Kathleen A. Venuto trustees, Kayak View Realty Trust. This is a proposed construction of a one-car garage on a pre-existing footprint. The representative is the owner, and this is a RDA. Good evening. If we can have your names for the record, we can begin. Kathleen and Dominic. Well, welcome. If you just give us a brief description of your project, and then the commissioners, if they have any questions or comments, they will address you directly.
A little hard of hearing, so.
Just a brief description of the...
We just purchased 105 Waterway, and the existing footprint, there's an overhang with the second floor has a living room above it, and we just want to close in 2 walls, put a garage door in the front, so when she comes down in the winter or whatever, she could drive her car in, and so that, you know, her car's not parked outside, and if she has any groceries or whatever, she can go inside the house. In the footprint, all you want to do is a 6-inch concrete pad, 2 walls, and an 8x8 garage door in the front.
Okay. Okay. Would you like to say something at all, or?
Nope.
We're good. Okay. All right, then I'll open it up for questions from commissioners.
So, first question I have is, the plan doesn't show what the flood elevation is on this property?
Flood elevation,
I think the engineering,
Cape and Islands,
Cape and Islands, what's her name, the secretary?
I don't know.
Roseanne, or
Is it in there? She wants to know what's in here.
they, made the Cape and Island, put it on the plan, the flood elevation?
You,
No, I'm not seeing any flood elevation on this plan at all.
hold on. I
Because
might
that's the only resource areas, flood
be-
zone,
Right.
Yeah, I do believe it's 12.
elevation 12.
Yeah.
Do we know what the grade is out there?
Stan.
I'm grabbing the GIS map as
The-
quick as I can, hold on.
Because I was looking at these plans, and there's no flood vents on this.
2 flood vents. I sent the plan in, one goes on the back of the wall, and one goes on the side of the wall, and it showed where they've got to go. I just bought them, they were like $300 a piece. There's 2 of them.
Right, but this plan doesn't show any flood vents.
There's one of those plans I sent in that does show where
Yeah, I
they,
think he sent it to the building, put it in the zoning thing, but not in this one. Other flood vents aren't on this one. We didn't realize you needed them for this one.
I did,
they're on the plan. that
I
sent-
I did talk to the building commissioner, because I wanted to make sure, because I was curious as well. And he said they do have to have them, and that's just that. So he said for whatever purpose they're gonna have, for whatever permitting purpose for zoning, they're gonna
Yeah.
have to have flood vents put in.
Okay,
So they are gonna have to do that.
It's AE 11.
So A11.
okay.
Looked it up.
Right, what's the grade?
Let me grab the contours, hold on.
Cape and Islands.
Um, At the house, it looks like it's partway between 8 and 10.
Okay, so it's only about a foot. Right, okay,
Yeah, the rear of the house, almost going right off the plot plan is 10, and 8 kind of curves around the front of the house and wobbles through the driveway
okay,
area.
so not that much, okay. Yeah, because they call out for 5/8 sheet rock, and that's not allowed in flood zone, so
Okay, okay.
so that's a building department thing.
Yeah,
you know.
they'll pick
Okay.
up on that.
Yeah,
As long as it's flood vents, I'm fine, so.
I do know the commissioner said they have to have flood vents, because these are the plans that were submitted with the buildings originally. So
Yeah.
these were the plans that were given to us. That's what, I went over and talked to the commissioner, and he said they have to have flood vents. When it comes to breakaway walls and stuff like that, that'll be up to them. But it has to go before zoning either way, so.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it's underneath the house, minimal impact to the resource area, just as long as it has flood vents in it. I'm fine with that, so. That's all I have.
Yeah, there's no coastal or velocity stuff going on there.
No, just A-zone, yeah, flooding. And it's across the street, so.
Yeah, the bank across the street is actually fairly high, the coastal bank there. It's
Yeah.
a good 2 or 3 feet tall. So it's natural. It's not, well, there are some bulkheads there, but the section across from them is natural.
Okay,
Okay.
anything else?
And I'm assuming the crushed stone driveway is going to continue to the apron on the garage?
Yes.
Okay.
And cobblestones on the side like that has all the way around it.
Okay, Rich?
Yes.
Sandy? Anything? No? Neil or Shauna, we're good? All set? Okay, I have no further questions. Dan, would you like to weigh in on?
No, this project was recommended as an RDA because it's simply existing footprint to a house. I did talk to the owner on site as well, to tell them that the thing that zoning is most definitely gonna say is the utilities, because you do have a condenser under there. Those are gonna have to go above the flood elevation when it comes down to it. They're gonna have to get relocated, but zoning will cover that with you, and the building commissioner will as well. So, but that's why this was an RDA, because it's existing footprint. They're putting the foundation in that's flood compliant. And yeah, it's fairly far away from any resource area other than the flood zone, so.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, make a motion for,
Hold on, let me
any
just
comment? Yeah.
see if is there anybody from the public that would like to speak on this? No? We're good? Okay,
Okay,
I'd accept the motion.
can make a motion for negative determination for 105 Waterway.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Rich. Motion made and seconded for a negative determination. Questions or comments from commissioners only on the motion we have? Hearing none, I will take a vote. Steve?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So the motion carries. It sounds bad as a negative determination, but that's a good thing.
I think it's a good thing, yeah.
That's a good thing in this case. You don't want a positive because there'd be a lot
Okay.
more paperwork.
Okay.
Okay, well, good luck. Good
Thank
luck
you
with the
very much.
project.
You bet. Take care.
Okay.
I'm going to call the next hearing for 7 Manitoba Road, Danielle R. Ayot and Davis A. Ayot trustees for the Daniel R. Ayot Trust, 2012. This is a proposed septic system upgrade. The representative is Engineering Works Incorporated, and this is an RDA. So,
They
do
online?
we have somebody representing
We do not.
the owners?
That's Pete McEntee.
Yeah.
Usually Pete, yeah. Did he log in? Last time he was here, he was
Logged in, yeah.
logged in, he zoomed
yeah.
in.
You want me to-
Zoomed in.
So,
Find out where he's at?
Yeah, I haven't heard any word. Drew, if you're there, have you heard any word?
No, no word. From my understanding, he was planning on attending. I don't know if it was in person or remotely, but because he had submitted the nitrogen loading calculations since I spoke with him, so I know he was planning on attending one way or another.
Let me just text him, see if he answers.
do you want me to just go on and we can come back to this?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
you
it.
At another
Table it
time?
if you want.
Yeah. Okay, so let's table that and we'll just move along. Hopefully he'll show up either through Zoom or you might hear from him. Yeah. He might be on his way. Okay, we're going to move to the next hearing for 524 Great Neck Road North, Verizon Wireless. This is a proposed installation of a new wireless telecommunications facility and associated equipment within a fenced enclosure. The representative is South River Environmental, and this is an RDA. So,
They are on Zoom, both.
they're online, okay. Good evening.
Tom Zimmer, South River Environmental. Would you like me to share my screen so I can put the site plan up?
Absolutely, one second.
Sure.
I can figure out how to do that real quick.
Okay, can folks see that okay?
Yes, we can.
All right, great. This is a request for determination of applicability under the bylaw only. The proposed project is ultimately a new wireless telecommunications facility located at 524 Great Neck Road within an existing property owned by Verizon. The proposed facility is located about 50 feet off of the rear of the existing building within a forested area. You can see that there is an isolated vegetated wetland down here in the associated 100-foot buffer zone and then the 150-foot buffer zone. The only work that's actually proposed within an area subject to jurisdiction is about 300 square feet of grading to basically prepare the site for leveling to allow for the installation of the fenced area. So the actual monopole, as well as the equipment and the fenced compound is all located outside of the 150-foot buffer. So there'll be some minor vegetation removal, a couple trees removed, but at the end of the day, this area will then be restored and revegetated, probably with a seed mix, and then just basically allowed to revert to native conditions. We submitted an RDA because it is basically located in the outer 140 feet of the 150-foot buffer, and with the small amount of actual work proposed, we felt it would qualify for a negative determination.
Okay. Is that it?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. The woman that's there as well, does she have anything to say? I didn't get her name. Is it Jessica?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, Jessica Barty, Robinson and Cole, also here for the applicant, but I defer to John on the wetlands matters. I'm zoning counsel.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so let me open this up to commissioners for questions that you may have.
I'm all set. Have no questions. Seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah, you know, the only concern that I have is that there's a certified vernal pool I believe it's about 140 feet out from,
The certified vernal pool is over 150 feet away. It's within the IBW down in this area.
okay. And that's all downslope from that corner where you are in the vegetated buffer, right? I'm just looking at your
Correct,
contours.
Yeah.
I didn't look at the elevation of those contours. What's the total elevation drop from the corner of the lot that's going to be cleared? That little corner that's being clipped.
Yep, from the edge of the proposed work here down to the boundary of the wetland is about a 10-foot elevation change.
Oh, it's only 10 feet?
Yep.
Okay. And what time of year would this be done?
My guess, and Jessica, you can chime in here, once all the approvals are received, it's probably not going to be until late summer, early fall before they get to construction, so it would be outside of, any obligate species for a pool.
Right.
Breeding season.
Yeah,
It
that
would
was,
be past the time when the juveniles would emigrate from the pools.
that was the concern that I had. And you said you would revegetate this whole area that's being clipped there, that corner, correct?
Yeah.
Other questions or concerns?
There's a lot of stuff in there. I mean, there's a lot of vegetation in there already. I don't think much is gonna get down that slope to the pool.
Do we want to beef up the erosion control on that corner just to be on the safe side? You know, if you just had a straw wattle and we got some really, the torrential rains we get and it just overwhelms it?
Yeah, but it's all wooded in there,
Yeah,
so even, a lot of undergrowth. What time of year did they say they were going to do it?
late summer or fall,
Okay, so you have a lot of undergrowth there.
yeah.
But, they have the silt fence in there. But we could do a straw wattle because it is, if you look at the details on it, it drops off, just in the work area alone, it drops off 2 feet.
Yeah,
Did you want to do a straw wattle in addition to the silt fence?
Yeah, that probably,
I'd feel comfortable
Yeah.
having some extra erosion control there, just in case.
yeah. Yeah, just because the heavy rainstorm in the
Yeah.
summer and the thunderstorm.
You know
and-
what they're like.
Yeah, so, yeah.
So here we are. Yeah, no, we're happy to put a straw wattle in as well.
Great. Anything else? No? We're good? Dan, would you like to, what's that?
Mashpee needs better cell service.
No, this project's pretty straightforward. It's a very small section, and since they're going to be revegetating and now putting up a straw wattle as well as a silt fence, we have no concerns from us. So, not at all. We're good here.
Anybody in the audience? No? Okay, I guess we're good.
Okay, make a motion for a negative determination for 524 Great Neck Road North for Verizon Wireless with the conditions of straw wattle, along with the silt fence, and then just the area that's going to be affected, just revegetate upon completion.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Rich. Motion made and seconded. Negative determination, little extra erosion control, and revegetating the corner. Any questions, deliberations by commissioners on the motion? We're good? Okay, roll call vote. Steve?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well, so that motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
You as well.
Thank you, good night.
Take care. Anything from Peter? No?
No, haven't heard from him.
Nothing? Okay, then let's go a little deeper.
If it doesn't show, then we can just continue it to the next hearing.
I guess we would have to.
I'm going to defer to Drew on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's wait.
It would be a moment of necessity, I believe. So, I
Yeah.
don't know whatever it's called, yeah.
I think it would be fine to continue on behalf of the applicant. That's what I would phrase the motion as, if it comes down to that.
Yeah.
I'm sure that, if Pete doesn't show up, there has to be some extenuating circumstances behind it. I think that would be perfectly acceptable to continue on his behalf, on the applicant's behalf.
Well, and he might show up. We'll
He might show up, yeah.
we'll keep rolling and see what happens. Okay, going on to the next hearing. This is for 362 Monomoskoye Road, Todd A. West. This is a proposed removal of an existing dock, construction and maintenance of a new dock, ramp, and float. Representative is Cape and Islands Engineering. This is a notice of intent, DEP file number 433327. We have a request to continue this hearing from the representative to February 6th of 2025. Was this on our agenda the last time? Is this a?
No,
No.
that was another one, Ms. Ford.
That was a
Yeah, this
different
is a
one.
new one,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Was there a reason for that? Dan, do we know?
I'm not too sure. Drew, was there rationale for the continuance?
I didn't get a specific reason why, but I do know that the harbor master had also communicated that he did have time to review this. And so he had actually asked for a continuance after a continuance was requested by the applicant, so.
Yeah.
So there is a reason, aside from the applicant not providing one, that the harbor master needs more time to review the plan.
Sure. Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good. All right, I would accept a motion.
Yeah, so moved.
Thank you, Steve. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Rich. Motion made and seconded to continue this to February 6th. Any questions, comments from commissioners? No? Roll call vote. Steve?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So that motion carries. Moving on to the next hearing, for 90 Wheeler Road, George L. Rice Jr. and Jennifer C. Rice. This is a proposed raise of an existing single-family dwelling, construct and maintain a new single-family dwelling, hardscaping, landscaping, mitigation, pool, and Title V IA septic system. Representative is J.C. Engineering Incorporated. This is a notice of intent, DEP file number 433324. And this hearing is being continued from January 9th. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Have your names for the record, we can begin.
George Rice. Brad Bertolo from JC Engineering on behalf of the property owner.
Okay.
This property is located at 90 Wheeler Road, and it's an existing single-family dwelling on a 26,000 square foot lot. I'm not sure if the commission members had a chance to inspect the property, but I'll briefly describe the existing conditions. The house has a crushed stone driveway, small parking area at the top, then a long driveway that leads down to the north side of the existing dwelling, and a small crushed stone parking area in front of the dwelling. George is current owner. It's been in his family since 30 years. It was his
My mother-in-law.
mother-in-law's house.
Who I absolutely got along with.
So they're looking to make this more suitable for their use to retire in. They live about an hour away now. And primarily, they're looking for first floor bedroom and a garage as part of their redevelopment. So that was considered when we looked at the layout of the house. The area around the existing structure is pretty much either grassed area or existing crushed stone. The area behind the deck down to the water is all grass. There's a couple random shrubs, but for the most part, the site is void of most native vegetation. The only area of vegetation that is native is more towards the street side of the proposed garage. The site is adjacent to a Shumat pond, so there are a couple of resource areas besides the land underwater. The mean high water, or mean annual high water, touches the existing wall. It's along the pond, and there's also an inland bank that, under the local bylaw, is approximately about, I can think about 20 feet inland from the state definition of the inland bank. It's along the slope within the grassed yard. There's also a portion of the property, the western roughly third of the lot is within priority habitat. So this project was submitted to Natural Heritage, and they issued a no-take letter back in December. What's currently missing on this property is any type of stormwater controls. Currently, the property slopes from about elevation 80 at the street down to about elevation 50 at the pond. Portion of the property is wooded, but the rest of the property is either crushed stone, driveway, grass. There's some existing hardscape around the dwelling, a path down to the water, and obviously the existing dwelling itself. So as part of the project, we would like to request permission to raise and rebuild the existing structure. During the process, between working with the property owners, we initially had just a tear down and rebuild, but we looked at doing a pool as well, just because of the issues with, every once in a while, Shumat Pond has bacteria in it and you just can't swim in it. So to allow for the pool, which we felt was more suitable to be on the rear of the dwelling, we relocated the dwelling relocated the proposed dwelling about 30 feet closer to the street and away from the resource area. We looked at utilizing the space and the footprint where the existing foundation is, where it's already excavated, to construct a standard in-ground swimming pool, between 3 and 5 or 6 feet deep. I believe it's going to be saltwater treated pool, which is more common nowadays. And at the same time, there's a small shed on the property that is in fairly decent shape. We're just going to we would like to relocate it to the north of the proposed pool and patio. And on the second sheet, I do show a little small area of where the pool equipment would be. As you can see on the plan, a majority of the site work's taking place within previously altered areas, whether it's grass, crushed stone driveway, house, and existing hardscape. We also are proposing to shorten the existing driveway. So right now, there's approximately 1,600 square feet of driveway within the 75-foot buffer zone to the inland bank, and we're removing that driveway outside of it. So there'll be no driveway within the 75 feet. We are trying to maintain the grades of the driveway. We would prefer to try to lessen the slope of the driveway, but it would either require too much fill around the house or too much cut near the top of the driveway. So we've done kind of a equal balance. We looked at lowering the grade approximately 2 feet along the driveway and maintaining that slope, which currently is proposed to be paved driveway. They've had issues in the past with the slope of the driveway and being crushed stone. And at the same time, I believe the maintenance on a paved driveway would be less. There's two benefits of lowering the driveway. One would be to kind of create a berm on the north side, so there will be no off-site impacts or runoff from the driveway to the north, since there will be a small, approximately 2-foot bank to the north of the driveway. We're moving it a little south, just to provide a little separation from the abutter. The driveway currently, just about along the property line, encroaches a little bit into the neighboring lot. You'll also see that we're proposing an asphalt berm along the north side of the driveway and the west side of the driveway. And that is to ensure that stormwater runoff is directed along the berm, and we're providing a catch basin at the bottom of the driveway. We understand that we are increasing, we're making the driveway smaller, but we're changing it from a crushed stone driveway to pavement, impervious. It will increase the runoff slightly. There is a decent amount of runoff from a crushed stone gravel driveway, but to account for that additional runoff, and actually including some area of the existing crushed stone driveway up near the top, and some of the land area between the street and the driveway, parking area, that area is intended to drain towards this proposed catch basin, and we're going to direct it to a set of subsurface infiltration structures
They did change that. Oh, there you
that will be located to the north of the proposed house, and it's in the location of the current crushed stone driveway. So there won't be any vegetation needed to be removed to construct the infiltration structures in that location. The house itself, we are providing roof dry wells to all the downspouts that wrap around the existing proposed footprint. So any of the impervious areas created from the new house and garage will be directed to subsurface. So we have equal amount of infiltration, so we're not losing any land area that's going to be flow off site. And in the area of the proposed pool, that itself is obviously impervious. It'll be depressed. It's not really going to create any surface water runoff. But the area around the pool is a patio. We are providing some catch basins or yard drains, one on the southern edge, so we could capture the runoff that's between the house and the pool, and one at the northwest corner, which will capture runoff from the northern side of the proposed patio. That basically covers all the drainage that we are proposing. An equal or even greater benefit to this project is the mitigation that we're proposing. We are moving, for the most part, the structure away from the resource areas, and we also removing some existing hardscape in a house that's a lot closer to the water than currently proposed. And that area shown in the green hatch counts for 2,300 or 2,600 square feet of proposed mitigation plantings. And that's all going to be in an area that's currently grassed. We are proposing to remove, which is shown on the first sheet, is about 4 trees that are within the 75-foot buffer zone. So we looked at, as part of the mitigation, we proposed 4 new trees within the mitigation area, spaced throughout that area that makes sense. And at the same time, we're also proposing some buffer plantings along the north property line to help buffer between the existing neighbor. And that's going to be either a mix of arborvitaes on the property line or red maple, holly tree, or eastern red cedar. We did provide a lot coverage table and kind of showed the existing and proposed coverages on the property. Native vegetation within the 75 feet. For the most part, it's just a small portion along the north property. The southern property does have some rhododendron shrubs. We are planning to leave those in that area, although there will be some minor pruning and removal in those areas where the proposed house and patio are right up against the rhododendrons. To the north of the proposed pool currently is crushed stone driveway. That's where the drainage would go. We're just anticipating that disturbed area to be grassed. There's a small section of additional rhododendrons to the west of the proposed shed. We're not anticipating any work in that location besides filling in a couple buffering plants in between the existing native vegetation in that location. So we are increasing the native vegetation within the 75-foot buffer zone from 237 square feet up to 2,718 square feet. And at the same time, we're reducing the driveway in that location within the 75 feet down to nothing, and shortening up the driveway. So we feel we have a fairly decent change to the site that will greatly impact the filtering of surface water runoff, the capture and infiltration, and provide more native mitigation for various species. We did provide a mitigation table and spelled out a number of different species, both low-lying shrub, mid-height shrubs, and a variety of trees, which, you know, we would hope that could be modified if necessary if the species aren't available at the time of planting. The remaining area of the 2,600 square feet will be planted with a seed mix, just to kind of really fill in the ground cover and stabilize that existing slope that currently exists. So I think with even, you know, with obviously a modest sized home, we feel that there will be a good benefit where, you know, adding the drainage, adding the plantings will benefit the surface water quality of the pond, or water quality of the pond. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I got one other, we put the new nitrogen septic.
Oh, yes, yep, exactly. So the septic system right now is currently a septic tank to an existing leaching pit. The leaching pit is roughly in the location of where the proposed septic tanks will be. And we're relocating the soil absorption system to maximum distance and constructing it in the crushed stone driveway and some of the vegetation that's up closer to the street, greater than 200 feet from the pond. So we're providing a lot greater separation from both groundwater and the pond, and providing alternative treatment, nitrogen reduction.
Okay,
If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
great. Thank you. So I'll go first to commissioners that have questions or comments.
Okay, a couple of questions I have. Do you have any accommodation for pumping the pool? Where's the pool water going to go? Is it going to be pumped out in a truck, or is it going to pump to?
I believe
Well-
I might have put a note on that, but typically, usually any maintenance on pools would be pumped and brought off-site.
Okay.
So there's no discharge of pool water during maintenance periods.
Okay. I didn't see a limit of work line along the north and south property lines. I just see some vegetation, so how will the contractor know where to stop digging and so forth? Because it looks like it's, you know, fairly close to the retaining walls in the corner of the house.
Yeah, so there's pretty much no vegetation along the north property line, so we would obviously need to stake out the location of that north property line to make sure they don't encroach into the abutters. I do show a proposed tree line. It would actually be on the secondary plan. It's kind of a more bolder green tree line that wraps around the blue septic that's closer to the street, maintains exactly right in the south of there. It maintains some native vegetation between the septic system and the area of clearing around the garage, and then some minor brush and I guess more bush removal south of the garage trying to
Right.
maintain as much vegetation between the proposed garage and the neighbor's house. which you
Right,
can
because I see
is-
that dry well to the south of the house is practically on the tree line or brush line or wherever.
Yeah,
So
it's
it's
all-
these guys on a machine, they're gonna dig, they're not gonna pay attention to that, because they'll probably wanna clear 4 feet away from that. It looks like it's within a foot or two. So, we need to stake out the limit of work to leave that vegetation outside,
We-
or
we
come
could-
up with a landscape plan to put more plants or trees in there.
Yeah, we could provide more, maybe an erosion control barrier around the south and north boundary lines that really will define the limit of work that's shown on this plan.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. Is there, one of the questions I have, so I see on your area calcs that the lot coverage is growing by 3 times. You're at 1374 and you're going up to 4,016. And that, I assume that all those numbers include the pool and the deck and the house and the garage. It doesn't include the hardscape around the pool?
On the lot coverage
Yeah.
table, I have it broken out hardscape, so it's specifically dealing with the pool and the patio. I don't believe there's any other really hardscaping proposed around the site. Then I have it broken up with the pre and post driveway only, then structure, which would be house, porches, and then the native vegetation areas, which doesn't include the areas we don't plan on disturbing, which would be mostly along the southern boundary and a small portion at the northern boundary beside the dry well and the proposed shed.
Okay. So, my thinking is you have all this land and you're growing the amount of structures and hardscape by 3 times what's there now. Why didn't you try to move everything outside the 50-foot buffer? 'Cause right now, everything's within the 150-foot buffer, all this work.
Yeah, the structure is increasing by 2,000, roughly 2,000 square feet total.
I'm saying that, we have you have all this land, and, how come, when you looked at it, can we move it outside the 50?
Well, we did look, we're trying to maintain some buffering with the street. We can't really go too close because we have the septic system we need to be pushed as far away from the resource areas as possible. And we push the house, pretty much the foundation of the house is completely in front of the existing house, which is a considerable moving away from the resource areas. And then we're concentrated the pool area in the location of the existing footprint.
Right.
We're knowing that there's obviously more house area and more hardscape area. We provided the drainage to capture all that runoff. We did discuss potentially, if it's board's wishes, the patio area could be constructed with like a pervious patio pavers.
Permeable.
Which, is built differently than what I'm anticipating or showed on this plan, but we could provide a detail that shows the pervious pavers, which have knobs on the sides so they don't butt close, and they're built within multiple layers of crushed stone, so there's infiltration. And we still can provide the yard drains that will probably capture minimal water, but, just in case, it would help out, at least with the patio area that's around the pool.
Right, I'm just looking at the plan, and it seemed like you have plenty of room between the garage and the SAS.
The lot also
So-
goes up pretty steep.
Yeah, it's steep, so the further we move it closer to the street, then there's either issues with having to bring the house up and providing more fill, or we're trying to cut more of the yard down at the top. But we're trying to not impact the driveway too much at the top, because then the neighbor also uses the frontage of this lot to gain access to their lot.
Yeah, yeah, but the grade lines are pretty far apart. They're not on top of each other, so, you know, I see this is a perfect opportunity where you can move everything out of the 50-foot buffer and provide that. You know, I understand everything, you know, from the 50 to 100 and 100 to 150. I understand that part of it, but this is a perfect opportunity to get everything outside the 50-foot buffer. So, I'm concerned with that.
How far back would that push the house from where, in the picture right there? Would we, because right now we have a beautiful view of the sunset, everything's great. If you push it really far back, now you're looking kind of at a tunnel view. It'll make it, you know, not as quite as appealing.
I don't know if it's gonna be a tunnel view, because it's all open on the north side, and you only have minimal vegetation on the south side.
No, there's trees all along that side.
Yeah,
My
but,
neighbor's property.
You should put in a whole drywall and leaching field where the existing shed is. It's all wide open, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd love you to come see the lot, you know, that'd be great.
Yeah,
Yeah, with the house right now is 28 feet from the retaining wall, and we're moving it to 55. The deck actually is 28 feet. We're moving the house so that the porch along the back is 55 feet away from the pond.
I'm just concerned that you're growing everything by, you know, 3 times what's there now, and still within the 50-foot to
Yeah.
the pond, so.
We understand. Well, that's why we
And-
provided so much mitigation and drainage to account for that.
And they're adding a whole new set of steps from the patio down to the pond too, so.
We're reconstructing it, making it smaller. There's actually, you'll see the north portion of that red.
See the gray,
It's
the
all,
grayed out?
yeah, that's
Right.
all.
That's all existing.
It's all existing, which it's like 4 feet at the bottom, but tapers out to like 8 to 9 feet at the top. So we kind of made a consistent 4 foot and shrunk that size down. So,
Okay. Great, thank you.
All set?
Yep.
Other questions from commissioners?
No, he answered it with the pavers around the pool.
Okay. Neil? Stan? Okay.
They're going from 4 bedrooms to 5. That's the Board of Health's purview.
I was going to ask that myself. In order for the notice to be complete, you would have to have already applied to the Board of Health, because you're going to need a variance to go from 4 to 5.
I don't believe so.
Yeah,
I thought we talked to them and they said.
Mashpee requires, if you have a lot that is less than 40,000 square feet, you can't go to that 5th bedroom without a variance. Now, that's not the purview of the commission, but it
Yeah.
is the Board of Health. So when
Thanks
you
for the
come
heads
to
up.
us and you file,
Yeah.
you have to have already applied for that variance through the Board of Health, and I don't see anything that says that you have.
We haven't applied anything, but the septic system is outside of your purview anyways, because not even in the jurisdiction. It's not even constructed. So if it happens to be, they're not going to approve a 5-bedroom, the leaching system changes to 4-bedroom. The tank is the same tank, same pump, so nothing changes that part of the septic system that's being constructed in your jurisdiction. The leaching portion is in an area that's outside of your jurisdiction.
But you are constructing the house, which is in our jurisdiction, and if it's a 5-bedroom home, then we have to make sure that the paperwork is complete.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, we anticipated filing. I just went through conservation first. Most towns like to see conservation first.
Other questions?
What happens if the salt water gets out of the pool?
Better than chemicals.
Huh? Better than chemicals?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, saltwater,
I mean, it's a freshwater pond.
yeah, saltwater pools tend to be the way to, people are going now. It's, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's less maintenance, but it is less harm to the environment. Yeah, nothing should be getting out, hopefully, as he just talked about. There's a lot of management for the runoff for all of that aspect as well. If you're gonna do pervious, pervious pavers, then that would also
Yeah,
assist
that
with
would,
so.
yeah. I've never owned a pool myself, but I'm assuming there's usually some type of maintenance during the year to make sure that that water level, it's probably some evaporation that goes together with, you know,
We've had some
rain,
pretty
so.
significant rain
Yeah,
storms though
yeah.
of late, so.
So, yeah, my mother-in-law's owned the place for 30 years, and so we've been coming here every weekend with our children. So she had the bedrooms, so we each had a bedroom, and it was great. Problem now is the lake has become, you know, with all the nitrogen runoff and the warming, and then we're having plumes. We have PFAS. We've got the de-icing that's been coming from the Air Force Base, and now we've got the purple, you know, whatever that algae is, that if it's toxic to dogs, if my dog drinks it. And it's really becoming, you know, they closed the lake last year in September. You couldn't even swim in it. So my wife and I want to retire here, but we want to have our children do what we did and come with their kids and bring their babies. And so that's why we decided, well, let's put a pool in then, because it's going to get worse before it gets better. And then, you know, our kids will still have this as a destination place is kind of our goal.
Okay.
Have you considered a pervious driveway rather than asphalt?
It's possible, sure. I didn't consider it just because of the cost, but if that makes a big difference, I'd consider it.
You're pushing, I think you're pushing kind of, it feels like you're pushing the limits on this lot, given the resource area.
Well, I mean, we you know, the other option for us is to leave it the way it is, but I talked to a builder about that house, and the house is not built to standards. It's 2x4 construction. The ceilings are only 7.5 feet tall. Can't really fix that. I'm a 6'4" guy, and so it's just, it needs a new roof, needs new shingles, needs new windows, needs new HVAC. I've got green and yellow bathrooms. You know, it's great. It's a great summer place, but it wouldn't be something I'd want to retire in.
I mean, we could look at maybe the parking area in front of the garage as something different. I think ultimately with the slope of the driveway, a paved driveway would be better to drive on, especially in the wintertime. But I don't know if that's, we initially had it as like crushed stone in the front, but there's too much maintenance.
In the wintertime, my mother-in-law would park her car up top, and she'd walk down the gravel driveway. So we had to buy her, a life alert because, you know, it was just icy and dangerous. She couldn't pull down to the house. Right now, when it rains, there's literally rivets, you know, ruts in the driveway, and all the water and the sand are just washing right down to, you know, into the pond.
I have one more quick question.
Sure, go ahead.
So
Steve.
the areas on the plan that not shown in the dark green, are they all gonna be lawn? Lawn areas?
Dark green?
Well, you show the dark green along the edge of the property in between the garage and the SAS. And is the rest of the open areas gonna be lawn?
Yeah, so some lawn area between the garage and the house, the tree line around the garage. You might have some typical, you know, mulch beds like you typically do for a house. The north side of the house, at the end of the driveway, anticipated grass. Right now it's crushed stone. The green hatched area is not grass, so that's the
Right.
mitigation
Right.
area.
And, yeah, just talking the open areas there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Dan?
No, I'll let Drew go first. It's on.
Thank you. I know I did have some conversation with the applicant consultant regarding, you know, the overall increase in size and the structure of the pool patio of the house, the garage, and They did reduce from what was originally proposed. This, obviously, you didn't see the original proposal because this is the first hearing. But it was, I can let the consultant speak to what the reduction was overall. I do understand the concerns. I know Commissioner Cook mentioned, the possibility of moving it back 50 feet, trying to get everything out, at least from the 50-foot buffer. I would just recommend that, things like Board of Health review, food water withdrawal, work limits, all of those things can be, easily conditioned if the commission wants to state that, if the project is to be approved. So I wouldn't want to see those issues hold up the hearing for a continuance, but it could easily be conditioned, if approved. But I do understand about the house size. It is a much larger increase in structure from what currently exists. And you've got, I know you're moving the house back, but it's also, that setback is then being occupied by new structure, that big patio. So when you present the house setback increasing, but being replaced by structure, I don't really see what the benefit is of setback if it's being replaced by something else, other than mitigation. But I do, on the flip side, when it comes to the mitigation, I did speak to the consultant about that to get more strata, vegetative strata incorporated into that mitigation. The previous iteration had a lot of low-growing vegetation, so I wanted to see an increase in diversity. So, and one of the things is, and ultimately it's obviously the discretion of the commission, but when you have this increase in structure and overall lot coverage, it also equates to a larger amount of mitigation in an area that is really devoid of any sort of buffer strip whatsoever. So, from my perspective, if they address all of the core issues like stormwater capture, the replacement of the reduction to impact to groundwater by the septic system upgrade, even if it's a larger footprint in structure overall. But as long as anything that could be perceived as adverse impact is addressed fully, and you've got the establishment of a vegetative buffer where literally none exists, it's just something to take into consideration. So no other comments.
Anything you'd like to add, Dan, or?
No, Drew got it all quite well.
Questions from the public? None? Okay.
I think that, if we do modify this and have a pervious paver patio and a portion of the driveway being pervious, maybe just the parking area in front, maybe we could look at doing a similar, either crushed stone, or he does the pervious pavers to have a more solid surface that doesn't seem to want to plow away in the wintertime. That would definitely help with the infiltration and the surface water runoff. We're still providing runoff that captures most of that area anyways, but it's kind of a backup to the infiltration that'll take place within those areas.
I'm open for a motion.
I think this plan needs to be revised. I'm not gonna make a motion.
You won't move it as presented?
Yeah. Like Drew says, I know there's a lot of pluses with the mitigation and everything, but it's still, you still get a structure within the 50-foot buffer. The structure's growing 3 times what's there now, and there's still plenty of room to move it back to get, the pool and the patio out of the 50-foot buffer.
Yeah.
Quite a bit. The landscape plan is very minimal information, so I would want a better landscape plan that shows, what's going in there for trees, shrubs. The limit of work isn't staked on the north and south sides. The paperwork for the Board of Health variance hasn't been filed, and we require all paperwork for all boards to be filed. And then there's no note about, pumping the pool for off-site. So to me, there's a lot of open areas. I understand going to permeable pavers on the patio, that's great, that helps. And to have a pervious driveway, that really helps too.
Yeah. Most of those items, I think, would be conditionable. We'd be more than happy, come before any type of mitigation planting's done, have an expert, a wetland scientist, or somebody to prepare a sketch that maybe staff could review to go over. Because I know we have a kind of a, I don't say generic plan, but we specify the type of species and we specify how many plants are gonna be necessary, doing your typical roughly 3-foot on center spacing, and it's
Yeah,
in the
typically-
ballpark of almost 290 shrubs that would be planted
Right,
in
but
that area.
typically in a project like this, the applicants come in with a detailed landscape plan. This is a large structure, you're clearing a good part of the lot. I understand a lot of it's cleared now, but I mean, there's gonna be a lot of work on this lot, so we should
Yeah.
have a detailed landscape plan that shows, okay, where's the limit of work, what's going in? I know the mitigation plan is good, you know, that part's good, so. I just think there's missing information, and the big one is, you had the opportunity to move the structure out of the 50-foot buffer, and it's still there.
Yeah, the house is outside of the 50-foot from the pond, so we
But
did
you
move
still
that.
have a pool and a patio.
Well, if the patio is permeable and the pool is smaller than the existing footprint of the house, it is a bit of an upgrade, right?
Yeah, it's small, but you still have retaining walls around that pool and patio.
Just kind of in the area of the stairwell, just to get that stairway, but for the most part, that patio is flush to
ground.
grade. The way it's situated with the elevation of the house and everything, we have very minimal topo changes around that pool
One of the
area.
reasons we did what we did, yeah, so we didn't
It's-
have to make those changes.
It's still gonna need some sort of wall to hold the patio back, whether it's a foot high or 18 inches high.
Nope, grade's all level. There'll be edging around it like your typical edging, except for the very south side, but that's where, you know, we're proposing some grade changes because we're tying into an area that was currently the walkout basement, and we're bringing that grade back up to probably almost where it originally was. We're carrying those contours straight across. So we're reestablishing the slope on that, in that bank back to where grade probably was before they constructed those stairs down to the water.
Currently, all the runoff that comes from the house right now just drops right down under the ground and just runs right into the lake.
So is that a fence you're showing in red going around the pool?
It's an orange. We have a fence, a safety fence around the pool to meet building
Okay,
code
so that's not a
requirements.
wall, that's a fence.
To meet building code requirements, yeah.
Okay. That wasn't, okay.
It's kind of hard to see
Yeah.
with all that. It's a lot going on.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay. That's my 2 cents worth on that.
And I don't see any nitrogen calculations for this project at all. How do we square that with Regulation 30?
That would have to be submitted then.
I didn't see anything in what was sent out, and I don't see anything on the plan. Did you do nitrogen calculations for the lot?
We did not, no. But we're adding that D-night, so it's gonna be less than what's there today.
Right. We have Regulation 30, which certainly addresses the system, the septic system, but it addresses everything else. Any kind of runoff that's being captured and put into groundwater, doesn't matter. We have a set amount of nitrogen that you can't exceed coming off of that lot. And without those calculations, we have nothing to go for here. So there's a lot of missing pieces.
Even for
You know,
systems
I
that are
can't take
outside
it-
your jurisdiction?
Excuse me?
Even for septics that's moved outside of your jurisdiction?
Yeah, because you are working within our jurisdiction, so there is nitrogen coming off of that lot. So we need to be sure that it doesn't exceed 19 milligrams per liter. which typically your runoff, coming off of driveways and roofs and everything else isn't going to, but when you put the septic system in as well, then you may, without seeing those figures. I'd like to see those figures. You're gonna have them for the Board of Health anyways, and you will have to apply to the Board of Health for that variance. Technically, your application isn't complete with us because you haven't made that application to the Board of Health. So there's a lot of pieces that,
Could we do that?
when I look at this project and I listen to Commissioner Cook's concerns and what other people have asked for, I hate to continue the whole thing down the road again, but
Well, can we get some determination a little bit? Is it possible? Because if I keep going to spend this route, and if Steve says, I'm not going to approve it unless it goes back 50 feet, and other people feel the same way, it'd be nice for me to know that now.
Sure.
If that's possible. I just am trying to determine if I'm going to retire here,
Right.
or somewhere else.
I
And
hear
that's
you.
what I'm trying to yeah. I'm spending a lot of money, so I'm happy to do that if you think that would make it so we could do this.
let me speak with voting commissioners. Rich, how do you feel about getting everything out of that 50-foot buffer? Are you okay with what we have here, or would you like
I
to?
guess I'm kind of okay with what they have here, kind of what staff had said. Obviously, the pool is within it, but the upgrades that they've made, I think, certainly help the property and the mitigation plantings. I think what they're saying too is to have a detailed landscape plan to come and say what you're actually planting, I think would be helpful as well.
Sure.
Okay. Sandy,
I'd like to see it moved out of the
out of the buffer? I tend to agree. You might not be able to get it completely out, but if it could be pulled back even halfway back, some type of a compromise. It's an opportunity where you haven't done a single thing. I know you spent a lot of money on plans.
Yeah.
But if you haven't done any of the work yet, it's certainly worth considering, in lieu of the fact that we have all these other pieces that need to fall into place as well.
Okay. I may just, I'm going to be honest, I probably am not going to do that. So I like the house. I love the house the way it is now, but I don't think I'll retire there. But trying to build it and then pull it all way back, I'm probably not doing that.
Yeah.
So that's okay. But
So
that's
not-
good for me
not
to know
even-
now.
Not even 20 feet?
I don't know. It didn't sound like that was an option. I
Well,
don't
Paul
know.
just said if we come to even a compromise,
Oh.
we're probably willing to look and say, okay, what's the distance from that back patio to the,
What would you guys feel is a good compromise that Sandy would be agreeable to and you would be agreeable to?
I don't have a scale on me, what's the distance from where the pool is by the walkway to that 50-foot line? What's that distance?
The 50-foot high water mark there, offset?
Where's that?
Yeah, see where the
Right through the
50 foot's
corner?
going through the corner pool, how wide is
Yeah,
that
the pool is like 15 and a half feet, roughly. 15 and a half feet I drew it at, wide, yeah.
Okay.
So we'll
can
move
you-
it back another 15 feet or another 20 feet, or what do you?
Yeah, if you go back 20 feet, then the majority of the patio and the pool's out of it. You're talking
I got to
20
go
feet.
look at the lot. I'd love it if you guys came and saw what I'm seeing, but
We have,
I don't know if
I've been
that's
on-
possible.
I've been up there.
I've been there.
You've been there?
I've been there.
I've been there too.
Yeah, if we can get some of that 50-foot buffer cleared out. all the
'Cause I know
better.
it angles, so once you move it back,
Yeah.
I don't think I'll
majority of
see
it
the
pulls
sunset
out of the-
anymore.
pulls out the buffer.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
so if
just,
you go
right now,
back
it's got a
50 if you
beautiful
go back-
sunset view. I'll lose that, but I don't know. I got to make a decision, I guess.
Go back 15 feet, then,
Can you
What's the
kind
size
of
of the
tweak the
pool?
angle of the pool?
Not and
15,
stay in the
15,
setbacks. Oh, maybe the
15.5
pool,
by
but the
30.
house. If I do the house anything, I don't stay in the setbacks. Because the lot kind of goes that way. The problem is the trees on my neighbor go straight down, so if I pull the house back further, I can't. I won't be able to see the sunset, but I have to make that decision. So I don't know what I'm going to do.
What's the dimension on the pool?
It's
15 and a half by 30.
30.
Shown on the second page. Get rid of the pool? Get rid of the pool?
good.
The
How about
pool,
it-
the pool's
15 and a half by 30?
Non-negotiable for
No,
you?
the pool's negotiable. The only reason I added the pool, I'm on a lake. I added the pool because the lake is unswimmable at times, and I think it's gonna get worse before it gets better. So I would consider taking the pool out, but can you guys tell me what's going on to mitigate the lake and fix the lake and how long that might take? Because that's the problem. If my kids can't come and swim in the lake and it's dangerous to have babies or dogs drink it, or that's my issue. That's the only reason I added the pool. I'm on a lake. Why would I need a pool?
Well, can you, okay,
Oh, you're in
so,
a lake in a beach community.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But
So-
I added it because I want to do what my mother-in-law did, and make it a destination spot for my kids to come.
what's the distance from the pool to the porch? The post on
10,
the porch?
10 feet.
10 feet.
10 feet, okay, so if you move it back 2 feet, you still have 8 feet between the pool and the post supporting the porch?
Yeah, that's a possibility.
And then,
And I'm open.
It's,
I
you know-
just, I'd love to kind of negotiate and get to a point where you guys are comfortable, and then, it makes sense to go forward.
no, yeah. That's it, if you can try to, I don't know if 20 feet's gonna make it. Even 15 feet's not gonna make a lot of difference to slide things back. I understand the 15-foot setback, you might have to slide the house to the south a bit or rotate it a little bit, but, to slide that back or go down from 48 feet down to 46 feet or something like that for a house, I don't know. Just, might come up with a number of small tweaks on a bunch of different pieces, just to move the pieces around to make it,
It's hard for me to do that in a vacuum and then come in and then someone says, oh, well,
Yeah, I think this commission's open for working with you
Okay.
on different tweaks here and there. Just saying that there's a lot of area in the 50-foot, and this is a perfect opportunity to, help out that 50-foot buffer.
If the Board of Health doesn't approve the fifth bedroom, does that change your view about whether you?
that's really from my mother, so, no.
This is being televised.
So,
But we have other issues,
no,
too.
I would just,
Yeah.
I could
Yeah,
I could make that work.
we could be here all night, just kicking this back and forth. We have other hearings as well, and plus our
Okay.
own business, so.
Yeah, well,
From what I'm hearing is, we have several missing pieces, a landscape plan, trying to get this pool kicked back a little bit to salvage some of that 50-foot buffer, nitrogen calculations in order to make sure that Regulation 30 with us is good, and application to the Board of Health to make sure that you're on your way to the variance so that our paperwork is good. So these are a lot of pieces, and
Yeah,
I
limit
don't
of work
s-
taking.
I don't see a willingness for any motion.
I'm sorry, what was that?
And limit of work
Limit of
taking,
work.
yeah.
So, and where there's no motion coming, I think you guys have some homework to do.
Okay. And do you feel if we do all that, then that makes sense to come back and do another presentation?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And staff will work with you. They know what pieces are missing, and they get the sense of what the commissioners are saying as far as salvaging as much of that 50-foot setback as we can.
Okay.
Seems to be the best. That's what I'm gathering from everything. I'm sure you are as well.
Sure.
I don't know what kind of time you'll need to put all those pieces together. That's, for you to figure out. And
I don't think we'll be able to do anything in the next week to submit for the next hearing, so at least
what's our schedule?
following
Dan?
hearing.
So that'd be,
6.
yeah, the next one's February 6th, so you'd be looking at either February 20th or into March.
Say again?
You'd be looking at February 20th or into March.
Getting to push
Yeah,
this off another
yeah,
year.
February 20th.
20th, okay.
yeah.
February 20th.
Yeah. So, yeah, no set times right now, just so you know, but February 20th is what you're on for, so.
Yep.
Okay, so
Well, thank you for your time.
don't leave yet, because we have to vote on that continuance. Is there a motion?
Yeah, make a motion to continue 90 Wheeler Road to February 20th.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Rich. Any discussions? You know what you need to do. You can always check with staff as well.
Thank you.
Okay?
Yeah, we'll be in touch.
We do a roll call vote. Steve?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Peter's here.
I'm going to go back to Pete's.
Back up and get that. Okay. Calling the next hearing for 7 Manitoba Road, Danielle R. Ayotte and Davis A. Ayotte, trustees of the Danielle R. Ayotte Trust, 2012. Proposed septic system upgrade, representative is Engineering Works. This is a request for determination of applicability.
Hi.
Good evening, Peter.
Good evening, yep. Peter McEntee with Engineering Works, representing the Ayottes at 7 Manitoba Road. We're just proposing to upgrade the septic system with no variance within an open area. We don't anticipate any removal of existing vegetation and intend to restore the backyard as it was with lawn. So, pretty straightforward. No variances are being requested by the Board of Health, so we're meeting all of their requirements.
Okay. That it? Questions from commissioners?
Hey, Pete. On the back, are those all new trees going in behind the SAS?
They have a hedgerow right now of arborvitae, so we're going to be working outside of that.
Okay, so they're
Nothing
good to stay?
proposed, it's just all existing vegetation.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't tell whether it was new
Yeah.
or not there, so.
Our work limit is, along that hedgerow.
Okay. No, that's it, pretty straightforward. So, thanks.
Sandy, any questions?
We have no nitrogen calculations?
The nitrogen calculations were handed in, yes. And,
Those weren't in our
Oh.
packet, Sandy.
Oh,
I did have them.
okay, thanks. I didn't see it in there.
It is a reduction, yes. So-
So, Peter, do you need a variance from the Board of Health for the distance to groundwater? Because this is awful.
No, we actually did the percolation test in the B horizon, and it's going to be remaining in that, and we had 4 minutes per inch, so we're allowed to be 4 feet above groundwater.
You're okay, they're
anything
okay
over
with
2
4 because of the slower perk rate?
because of the slow perk rate, yeah. Anything over 2 minutes per inch
Right,
is allowed to have a 4 foot without variance.
right. Okay. And this is a sledgehammer component, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Just out of curiosity, what is the milligram rate that comes out of the tank? I didn't look at the figures because they didn't come out to us electronically. I saw them before the meeting and heard.
They've had some, what happened is they had been monitoring them early on when sledgehammers were introduced over a decade ago. And then the requirement got stopped in Mashpee, so they weren't recording it. But now that we're using them more frequently, they're being recorded. Cape Septic Inspections is doing a lot of the operation and maintenance, so he's obviously logging the numbers and giving them to the Board of Health, and also providing Sledgehammer with his numbers too. We've got some good readings that are lower than 10 parts per million in some cases, but there've been some high ones, and we are wondering whether some of the higher ones are attributed to fertilization that's going on in the soils after the septic systems have been installed. So I can't tell you how many, but it's something we're watching and trying to address so that we can keep them down, so. The testing is being done in the distribution box, so.
In the
I'd love to
D-box
see some
itself?
lysimeters in the soil absorption systems to see, what it is within the foot below them, but we haven't got that far
Yeah,
yet.
that would be a nice place to have it, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so,
But obviously, it'd be a little bit less, I mean, once it gets through there.
yeah. The more we get in, the more data we get, and we see how well they're working, which is
Yeah.
really,
Yep. How about up at Mastech, are they doing anything up there with them?
They had been, but they've gone to a different location in the Midwest where they're doing some extensive testing.
So they're doing
So,
some of their
yeah.
own stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Other questions from commissioners? None? Dan, anything you would like to weigh in with?
No, this is pretty straightforward. This is an upgrade to an IA system. So, yeah, the numbers are lower with it, so no concerns from us.
Okay. Drew online still, or is he?
Yeah, no other comments other than I made a recommendation that, any reestablishment of lawn, meet the lawn standards.
Yep.
Under Reg 31.
Okay. Anything from the public? Nope, no comment there. So I would take a motion.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, make a motion for negative determination for 7 Manitoba Road with the condition of adherence to lawn standards under Regulation 31.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Rich. Motion made and seconded. Up for discussion amongst commissioners? Nothing? Take a roll call vote. Steve?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Yep.
Never gonna make that 8:30 call now.
No,
I think we would have if that other hearing wasn't so long ago.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. Next hearing is 231 Vineyard Reach Condominium Association, proposed invasive species removal and management and construction of a retaining wall for erosion prevention. Representative is Wet Tech Land Design. This is a notice of intent, DEP 433328. This hearing, we have a request from the representative for a continuance to February 6th. I know when he was here last time, he wasn't quite sure he was going to be able to get everything together for us, especially about species in the pond, and we had a listing for him, so
He had quite the list, and he was not ready for it.
he
all.
wasn't ready. Okay. So, did he felt confident that he'd be okay for the 6th?
Very much so.
Okay,
Okay.
yep.
So I'll make a motion for 231 Vineyard Reach to continue to February 6th.
Thank you, Steve. Is there a second? Thank you, Richard. Any further discussions? Hearing none. Steve?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So we'll see Wayne on the 6th. Okay. Next hearing is 50 Kim Path, Beth A. McGinnis, trustee. Beth McGinnis Family Trust, proposed raise of an existing family dwelling, single-family dwelling, construct and maintain a new single-family dwelling with deck, stairs, dry wells, associated appurtenances, landscaping, and a Title V IA septic system upgrade. Representative of Cape and Islands Engineering. Hearing is continued from January 9th. It is a notice of intent, DEP file number 433325. And we are good to go. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mark Dibb with Cape and Islands Engineering. So we presented this project at the previous hearing and tried to respond to the commissioner's questions. One thing we added was along the westerly side and northerly side, you'll see a dimension on the westerly side. There's a dimension between the walls. So basically, the existing wall on the property to the west and our wall is about 3.9 feet or 4 feet, as well as the one you're hovering over. That is 4.7 feet from our wall. And what we also did was add the top of the wall, top and bottom of wall elevations for both of those walls. The one on the west is top of wall is 8.04, bottom wall is 6.9. So that's a wall that's only about 1.1 high, you know. So the wall is only about this high at the tallest point, and then the land blends in at each end. And the wall to the north is about a foot high. And the reason we added those was to show that, number one, if there is some channelization of floodwaters in between these walls, it's going to be almost, it's going to be very minimal, because almost immediately as floodwaters come up, these walls, the smaller ones, become overtopped. You know, the water will be able to gradually continue to disperse around these properties. I mean, as floodwaters come in from the east, you know, it'll flow in for a very minimal time. It'll channelize a little bit until these walls overtop, and then the water will just go where it wants to go. The other thing we did, we had originally tried to keep the grass strip around the outside of the wall. So what we've done is revised the plan to be mulch and native plantings all the way around this structure. So that should, to the extent it can, it would definitely slow floodwaters more than just grass. It's really everything we can possibly do around this site, given the constraints and elevation requirements of the septic system. And the other component of just the existing grades is the property. So another factor in flood zones is when the water flows in, you also have to have a way for it to get back out again. Both of these, from north to south, the site is a gradually sloping site, so, you know, there's allowance for floodwaters to recede as well. The other, we did relocate the D-box. It's allowed to be under a patio, but for ease of access and monitoring and things like that, we did relocate that out from underneath the patio. As well as I did update the nitrogen loading calculations. One thing that needed to just be adjusted was the lawn area on the proposed calculations. It did not reflect one of the intermediate design changes we did as a result of talking to staff. And the other is under the initial parts, I tried to expand some of the calculations a little bit, and described, I think, the particular question from Chairman Colombo was what the actual flows were based on. And what it is based on is a couple different things. Number one, in Title V, a single bedroom is given 110 gallons per day. And that assumes 2 people in that bedroom. So that means you divide 110 by 2, you get 55 gallons per day. And then, let me backtrack a little bit first. So this form that Mashpee created to calculate nitrogen loading is based on the technical bill from Cape Cod Commission that was done. It details the different criteria, and so there's 3 main things that 3 main criteria basically is: 1, the septic flow; how much nitrogen is going into the ground from the septic to flow. The next is lawn area, because that's another producer of nitrogen. And the third is actually the amount of recharge based on natural areas that actually help flush the nitrogen out of the water. So it's actually a beneficial part of the calculation. So the first part being septic, and we'll go back to the actual flow, again, is Title V is 110 gallons per day, and they assume 2 people in a bedroom, so that gives you 55 gallons per person. And the Cape Cod Commission guidance has, when determining the actual flow, it's based on census data, actually, which Mashpee, average household size in Mashpee, according to the form that's being used, is 2.5 people per household. So what you do is you take the 55 gallons per person times 2.5 gives you, I didn't write that intermediate number out. Oh, it's 137.5 gallons is the flow for the actual flow based on the Cape Cod Commission way of doing things for the house. And then, since this is a 3-bedroom house, and then there's also, in these numbers, there's a conversion from gallons to liters. 1 gallon is 3.7954 liters. And basically, that number that's in the form is based on 2.5 people for the house. That's 6,702 milligrams. And then you divide, and then the formula, so when you see the actual load is then that number 672 times, because that's the actual loading rate per bedroom, and then that's times 3, the number of bedrooms in the house. So it's it's based exactly on the Cape Cod Commission nitrogen loaded bulletin 91-001. And then, it considers that flow, it considers lawn area as positive nitrogen things, and then the natural areas actually help dilute the nitrogen-filled water. And, it uses all those criteria because you could, for this lot, this is a very small lot. I mean, you could have a 5-acre lot that would result in much lower nitrogen numbers, even though, a 3-bedroom house on a 5-acre lot puts the same amount of nitrogen in the ground from the 3-bedroom house, but it looks much lower on these calculations because there's all that land. You have one house for 5 acres versus this is 10,000. You could have, in this area, you have 15 houses, or whatever the math is. So that's what the actual flow is based on this form, and I think it's a reduction of the over this property when we add the IA and in order to just recap, to create a flood compliant house, a Title V septic system with the appropriate groundwater separation, and then also to minimize grading and fill on the site, which is a required thing. That creates the walls. And otherwise, I think we've reduced down to 10% grass. There's a lot of, right now, this is a house and grass, basically a little bit of landscaping in front with a paved driveway. All the every surface, even the patios, the walkways, the driveway is all porous material, and we're providing drainage that does not exist today, and the IA nitrogen reducing system. So I think it's you know, it's kind of what needs to be on the site to upgrade this house to flood compliancy. Because as soon as you do that, it triggers the IA, it triggers the septic system. And then we added all the porous material. So I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
Thank you. Questions from commissioners?
No, I'm fine. I think you answered all our questions from the last time. Yep.
Andy? Just one clarification I have, Mark, and thanks for, the description of the commission. That is the form that we are using from the Cape Cod Commission.
Correct.
So, if I'm hearing you right, you're saying that these figures are for 2.5 people, but yet it's a 3-bedroom home, so on any given day, there could be 6 people. So even though we have figures, and that's the way the form works, would you agree that it's very easy to exceed these numbers? In fact, quite frequently, you would exceed it, especially in the summer months. I mean, if you have 6 people using the system.
I mean, if you notice at the end of all these calculations is an average. It takes
Yeah, I see that.
takes the design flow, which does consider 6 people, and then it averages that design flow with the actual flow. It is spelled out, the different ranges are spelled out in this Cape Cod Commission thing that kind of explain that and where they go, definitely, yeah, especially over a weekend, you could have 10 or 20 people in this house for a day or two.
Sure.
But, that's a general.
That's the standard, you have to have a standard to work
That's
with.
the standard, yeah,
Get it?
that's how it's,
Well, I know as different engineers come before us and present these figures, they tend to be all over the place, but there's different systems that are being used, and what I'm trying to do as they do come along, and I was asking you, I think you were here listening when Peter was just here, I was asking him pretty much the same questions. What's coming out of these and who's doing the testing, because I'm seeing such a wide range of numbers that come before us since we updated Regulation 30. So that was my interest in that. Okay. No other questions? Dan, anything you would like to add?
No, Mark, you accommodated everything that the commission was asking for, especially with the plantings along the corners, the sides, and the retainment wall separation channeling, so all good here.
Drew, is he still online?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
All set? Okay. I'd ask the public, but there is no public. So I'm open for a motion.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, make a motion for close an issue for 50 Kim Path. McGinnis, Beth A. McGinnis trustee, Beth McGinnis Family Trust, with the, as plans submitted as is.
Revised plans.
Revised plans, yep, that's it.
Okay. Is there a second? Thank you, Richard. Motion made and seconded. Up for discussion amongst commissioners. Any last minute issues or questions, comments? We're good? I'll take a roll call vote. Steve?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Motion carries.
Thanks, Mark.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Have a good night.
I think we're through them. We have one certificate of compliance for 55 Horseshoe Bend Way, J. Thomas and Louise L. Laurie, and that inspection passed. That's DEP file number 433158. Okay, going back up to the pre- and post-hearing agendas, we have a draft set of minutes for November 7th, 2024. These are executive meeting minutes, and those eligible to vote that are here with us tonight would be Steve, Sandy, Rich, and myself. And as a reminder, until that session is resolved, even though we do vote to approve them, those minutes are still held until we're finished with our business on that situation. So let me ask those that are eligible to vote, did you have a chance to look at those? You okay with them? Any changes, additions, deletions?
Okay.
They all look good to me.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, then I would accept a motion on those.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you. Any further questions? No? We're good? I'll take a roll call vote. Steve?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So those minutes are approved. Moving on to discussion. Water quality issues and initiatives, ongoing discussion item. Anybody have something they want to bring before us for our attention? No, we're good, good on that. Chapter 172, Regulation 25, land subject to coastal flow, performance standards. At our last meeting, we looked at draft 7, and we were all set to move that forward to legal review, but there were a few questions from commissioners, and we agreed that those questions would come in to us in writing. I have questions from Rich that came in that I forwarded over to Dan and Drew. I think you guys got those as well. And Sarah had sent some in, I think the very next day after the meeting, and those have been forwarded in. Steve, you said you had some,
Yeah, I'll
What you wanted to-
I'll do that tomorrow or Saturday.
okay.
Email them
And is there, I haven't heard anything from Marjorie. Sean, are you all set?
I'm good.
Good. Neil, you all set with that? All right, so Steve, when yours come in, then yours and Sarah's and Rich's will go along with the draft, and that'll go out to legal counsel, and they can take a look at everything. And again, it's still in draft form. It'll come back, and at least we'll have some answers to not only the questions that you people have brought up, but I'm very concerned about one of the performance standards, specific numbers for septic. We'll have them take a look at that.
Okay.
Okay? So that's where we are
We
with.
want to, just real quick, do we want to put like a date for me to, because I had to submit a request for legal services form to the town manager's office in order to engage legal counsel. So I just want to, I am going to be away on vacation starting tomorrow and coming back next Wednesday. So would next Wednesday sound good for a deadline to establish so I can get that off to legal counsel for any additional comments?
Yeah,
That would
that's
be
fine.
fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Steve's going to have his in by the weekend, I think.
Yeah, by Saturday.
So,
Okay. I don't know if Alex had any comments on it.
yeah, I didn't hear from her at all. The only one that I got that came directly to me was from Rich, and that's why I forwarded that over to both you and Dan. And I
Okay.
haven't heard from others, so.
Sure.
Okay. Conservation meeting schedule. Sorry about the change. Apparently, the Finance Committee is reviewing all of the budgets, and the Town Manager's Office wanted to have both that meeting and our meeting televised. And this is it. We could meet at the library, but there's no live television. So the Finance Committee agreed to push their meeting time back earlier, and then we agreed, or I agreed as chair, to move ours up. And I believe they'll be done by the end of February. Don't they have to be finished in order to make recommendations for the town warrant?
I can't say for certain, I just don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's uncertain. They may have more meetings if they want to be televised.
yeah,
But there are a couple of things to consider with this topic, and I'll just throw them out briefly. You know, you could certainly adjust accordingly as far as the start time on Thursday. You know, starting at 7 o'clock or having meetings at the library. But the other consideration or possibility is to switch over to Concom meetings on Tuesday where there's no conflict with the Wacoya conference room. And you could start meetings at 6:30 on Tuesday nights as opposed to Thursday. So I just wanted to put that out there for discussion amongst the commissioners, you know, which, just that you have those
right.
alternatives.
Well, I can only speak for myself. It doesn't matter to me whether we meet at 7 or 6:30 or 6. I don't work, I'm retired, so.
Me too, so I'm flexible.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Are you okay with the 7 until
Yeah,
the
I'm fine with the
finance
7.
is done?
Yeah, yeah.
I have a feeling they'll be done by the end of February, but there may be other issues that come up from time to time that we would get bumped another half hour or so, but
Yeah. I'm fine with going to Tuesday too, but I think that was gonna cause a whole,
Yeah. it's-
another
yeah.
issue, right, with
Yeah.
scheduling and everything like that, right? Yeah.
May, you're right. Okay.
We don't want,
I just need
give
a
you
heads
guys
up.
any more of
I
that.
just need a heads up, that's all.
Okay, so it seems to be the consensus that we'll stay with this bumped up 7 o'clock thing till the finance is done with their review, and then hopefully the dust will settle and we're back to normal.
Yeah.
That sound good?
Well, we're talking about meetings. Our quarterly May meeting is the
Yes.
Friday of Memorial Day weekend. Was that intentional, or is that seems like a really bad time to have?
Mean Thursday?
Oh, Thursday, that's right, it's Thursday,
Right,
sorry.
yeah, I tried to stay away from that weekend,
Yeah.
because that gets
Yeah.
crazy.
It was a tough one.
Okay.
They were just literally picked out of
For some reason,
quarters,
I
yeah.
thought it was Friday, so I was,
Yeah. Occasionally, when we get,
I must have it in my calendar.
when we look at the full year calendar, you can find, like, there's that week that we skip and one
Yeah,
plugs in.
okay.
But when I looked at all the meetings for 2025, every 2 weeks, there was a Concom meeting, so you end up getting a meeting that kind of backs up on the, and then I looked at the
So my
holidays and I
apologies,
tried to stay out of
got
that.
myself looped up.
Yep. And those are 6:30 to match up with our 6:30 time, which is now 7. It's like a moving target. It just keeps moving around on us, but, okay. So, Drew, it looks like we're good to stay at 7 on Thursdays.
Okay,
At
very
least
good.
the consensus of those that are here, and so
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
we'll see how that goes. You probably received via email the Massachusetts Conflict of Interest Law training. Those of us that have already taken it, we got notified through Deb Kay's office. So that's up and available online now, so you should mark your calendar and get that done. I forget the cutoff date.
February 10th, February 15th,
Yeah,
something
it
like
was early
that.
February.
Yeah. We didn't mind today. I didn't get anything.
You did yours today?
You didn't get
It's
it?
time consuming.
I'm done.
I did mine Monday.
I will
over an hour
confirm
than
and get
they
that,
say it
make
is.
it
I
sent
thought
out.
you have to do
Gone
it
on
every
the
year.
commission, I had done it at the station as well, because I have to do it, but I
Yeah.
did it probably 4 months after that, and I had submitted it to Stacy in the office probably 4 months ago, so
Yeah.
I don't know if I need to.
All right, I'll just check. I'll check to make sure everyone got the email, and then I'll check with the clerk to see if she has
Okay.
yours. Yeah.
I think good for 2 years. Thought they would,
I forget.
1 year.
1 year?
1 year, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I was having wonderful flashbacks of compliance training.
Okay, so updates. Dan, I'm going to turn those over to you if there's things there. I think there are a few things you want to fill us in with.
So yeah, so when it comes to Red Brook Culvert, Upper Quashnet, and the Mashpee River grants, the whole grant proposal team is organizing public outreach for the Red Brook Culvert as well as the Upper Quashnet. So I have some meetings coming up next week, and there'll be public outreach meetings that will be posted that people can attend. Also, it's for gaining community support as well. So those will be, you'll be probably seeing those pop up around town or getting emails about those. And then the next was, Drew, you want to touch upon Chopchick?
Yeah, so, Chopchick Bog, the excavation, construction phase basically is completed. Sunco, which is the ecological contracting company that was hired to do the work, has pulled out all of the erosion controls and fencing and everything that they brought in that was required to be on site during construction. So now we're just waiting for the springtime to see what pops up in the seed bank that's been exposed. And then Sunco will come back in, do some grading of the access road around the bog, just because it's got roughed up on machinery. But they didn't want to go do the grading now, the ground's frozen. So they'll come back in the spring, do some additional seeding of grass along that access path and road. And then we'll wait to see what comes back and if there's any supplementary plantings that need to be added based on, the regrowth of, that exposed seed source. That'll be addressed at that time. And then we just move into a long-term mitigation and monitoring period to study what comes back and use it kind of as an educational tool for wetland restoration.
Drew, I have a question. I know there's been some talk about the barn that's there, dismantling the barn and moving it to another location as a historical feature, whatever that might be. What kind of an effect is that going to have, if any at all, if they're still contemplating that and we're finished with the restoration, is that going to be a problem, getting in there and dealing with that?
No, because we, right now, like prior to the restoration, there was a road, encircling around the entire bog complex is wide enough for a vehicle. Much of that has been narrowed with the wetland restoration, but there's still a path, a roadway, a wide enough road being left and to be maintained for access for vehicles. And it goes through one of the access gates off into Newtown Road or Hollow Road and leads right up to the barn. So we're planning on maintaining the width of that just for future maintenance access into the parcel with vehicles. And I would also say that I know that I met with the Mashpee Historical Commission, and they wanted to know what the status of that sorting barn is, and there was some discussion, and I think a subsequent application to CPA to do a feasibility study about moving it off-site to a different location. And this is all under the concerns about the isolated location currently of the barn that is subject to vandalism and has been vandalized relatively frequently in the past. And it's hard to police, but in retrospect, and I've reached out to the Mashpee Historical Commission since that meeting, that, the barn is really a very highly coveted feature on this bog by local residents and folks that live across the pond are used to seeing it as a feature on the landscape. So I think that, we should talk to the Mashpee Historical Commission about looking into submitting a different application to CPA to fix up the barn, make it look nicer, and doing some security measures around it, even like a Wi-Fi remote camera or something to that effect, so we can keep it in place and address the concerns about the remoteness and vandalism issues. But I think that's where I would like to see head in that direction, keeping the barn there and not relocating it off-site to a different location, because I think the local community would have a major problem with that, and I would fully understand. So that's kind of the latest with that.
Okay, I was just curious. Thanks.
And then for the rest, herring season's coming up, so next month I start organizing counters. Yeah, and that's really about it. You might hear some talk about some herbiciding in the ponds to control some of the milfoil in John's Pond and whatnot. Drew's going through that as we speak to get that assured. I know there was some questions tonight about a Schumett pond. There is an application, I believe through Natural Resources, going in for the cyanobacteria in there because obviously last season it was shut down. As for the PFAS and everything in there, I couldn't tell you. They're tackling the cyanobacteria at this time, so that I'm aware of. So, other than that, that's really it. We're in the thick of the winter, so.
Okay. There's also this form that's coming around that you need to take a look at and sign. I think it still has to go over to Shauna.
Oh, sorry,
And,
Neil.
yeah. I have no other additional topics to bring forward unless somebody else does. We're good?
No.
Then I would
Make a
take
motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Steve. Is there a second? Thank you,
Second.
Richard. Anybody questioning that motion or deliberating it or against it, for it? Let me take a roll call vote. Steve?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. And that's before 9 o'clock, and we started at 7.
Have a good one. Good, 2 hours.